Hello and welcome to this Tycoon kit tutorial. I'll be showing you guys how to use this Tycoon kit, how to take it off of GitHub, all the features it has, and a basic implementation. Additionally, if you are a verse coder, I'll be showing you how to add features into this. It's pretty easy because I'm using a massive superclass. So it's pretty easy. So once you pull up this GitHub page, you'll see a few of these items here, just images. These are the images you see here, and a few others from past revisions. Depending on when you're seeing this, we're currently in alpha version 0.2.1. 0.2.1. I just added a pet system around 8 minutes ago, and I've pushed this to the repo. If you're also interested, there's a whole guide on how to fork this repo if you want to add your own additions onto it, if you want to build upon your own kit. Uses the GPL 3.0 license, which means you are free to use, free to redistribute this, free to make your own versions, however you want to use it, which I think is quite cool. So let's read this GitHub repo first so we kind of know what we're getting ourselves into. So here's our project OST 0.2.1 alpha, or 0.2.1, however you want to say it. You can read through the description real quick. I'm not going to be holding your hand and reading it for you, but you got that. So here's how I do. I'd create a new UEFN first project. You can actually download from directly right here. It'll download all the required contents you need. You can grab the version you want. So you could either grab the 0.2 or 0.2.1 or whatever version it is at the time you're seeing this, and you'll paste that into your project. I'll be showing you that in a little bit. Yeah. So in additions, this shows you how to create a new principal. I'm going to be going over that much more in depth in this video. This is a basic tutorial if you're just trying to fork this repo, build your own kit, whatever. Here's how you suggest a bug fix. You just go to this discussion board or discussion forum. Just write a post on there. Yeah. All right. So while UEFN's loading up, I'm going to go ahead and extract this guy. And I'll bring it into documents, and we'll create a new folder. I'll create this in business. Right now it's extracted. You can see we have everything required in here. I'm gonna go create a new project. Tycoon example alpha. Now that you've loaded in, you go to project. Open the project folder. You'll see we got plugins. You can click on it and then go into your content folder. And here's basically everything that you have in your map. And I have nothing because it's new. You'll probably see some stuff if you're in a project that's been made. And here's the folder that we just extracted. You'll see we have these two versions. Everything else, you should look at the README, code of contact, security as well. This just shows supported versions currently. Definitely look at the code of conduct if you're going to be forking anything, or if you plan on redistributing this or selling this. If you're just giving it to a friend, you can just link them to the GitHub repo. You don't really need to fork anything. And images, these are just images that I've used in the past on the GitHub repo. Don't gotta worry about these. .github, this is a .git thing if you have Git installed, and you're using Git templates. Okay, so I'm going to select the version I want. So we're going to do 0.2.1. If you actually go to the GitHub page and you click on releases, you can see all the past versions that you have. If you want to download versions even farther back, currently if I'm on something like 0.2, then I'll keep 0.2.1, 0.2.3, etc. all in here. So you can pick which one you want, since there's only small differences. So I'm just going to use this one for now. All you got to do is drag it in, and you'll see nothing's actually going to happen just yet in your content drawer. So this is because you just added it, and UEFN doesn't really know you added it yet. So there's probably a better way to do this out here. Just let me know in the comments if you know there's like better to do this. I'm just going to close the project and open it again. That seems to usually work for me. What I had to do, you might also have to do this. I went to my folder and you see I changed the name to Tycoon Stomper. Those dots seem to kind of trick up UEFN. They really don't like dots at all. So I just renamed it Tycoon Stopper, reloaded the project, and it's been working perfectly for me. So I'm going to go over how I use this. So you can actually see we have this whole Tycoon Stomper folder, and I believe it's just Stomper. You can just drag this in, and then you'll see, yay, we got nothing just yet. SL, this is a debug feature. So let's say something's going wrong on your kit. I have a ton of different output logs that'll actually print out. So if literally anything's going wrong, it's going to show up in this experimental debug, and you'll be like, okay, right there, this is the issue that's going on, and how do I fix it, right? I usually will keep this off myself. If you're having any issues, you can turn it on, you can check. By default, if you keep this off, there's only a few print statements that'll show up in your log, like a base got initialized, X prop got initialized, whatever. This literally shows every possible statement that can occur, so you'll see all the back end in that. And so we can create a new base, right? So we just built a whole new base, boom, one click of a button. And this is why I love arrays, right? Here, I can have 1,000 bases if I wanted, as many as you want, right? Yeah, so we have this base setup right here. I'm just gonna call this tutorial base for the time being. Let me set up. Team to add to. So Fortnite has this whole team system, right? So if you're on free for all and your max teams is at the 4, then that's actually index 0, 1, 2, and 3. So team 1, like if a player is switching to team 1, you'd write 0 right here, and that's how the index system works. If you're familiar with some basic computer programming concepts, indexes usually start at 0, so that's why this would be 0. So let's say I made a new base. I would actually set this guy to 1. So tips. All right, base climber. So we can actually go ahead and grab a volume device. So instead of using mutator zones, I opted to use volume devices here because they use a lot less memory. If you've ever built a really big Tycoon, you'll notice how much memory and performance it can drag down. So I wanted to use the tiniest possible bit. So I use volume devices. Cool thing about these, you can't enable or disable them. So that's done all in the back end. I believe in the CC folder. So we have our custom content. It could be in CD as well. I gotta find volume. Yeah, unique by zone. Okay, so this is a custom by zone that has this enable disable feature actually built into the backend code. So this is all in the Tycoon Stomper database, which means every one of these guys that you create actually doesn't have to have their own code. So this guy doesn't have his own enable disable. This guy doesn't. This guy stores them all, and it just references them. So this actually uses probably just a few bytes less of memory, but I thought it was pretty cool to include. So I'm going to go ahead, click my base claimer right here, and I'm going to make it visible so we can actually see it. And this is built-in native verse persistence for literally everything in here. So you can persist currencies and persist unlocks. In the future, I might let you choose exactly what you want, but right now this is if you buy anything in here, it'll persist it when they come back. You can obviously turn that off or on. Same with your currencies. So if you have 10 million gold, it'll say that as well. Rebirth button. This is a built-in rebirth system. And this has its own exponential equation in it, but in a general basis, it'll multiply it by 1.5. So if you're on rebirth 1, you'll generally get 1.5 times more cash. If you actually look into the rebirth code, you can find the equation. I'll go find it for you guys so you can see if you like math. I'll just do, I think it's POW. Yeah, if we do POW, so here's the get rebirth amount, right? So this is POW, so to the power of these two. So how much you're multiplying it by and the amount of rebirths. So it's 1.5 to the power of the amount of rebirths you have times 1 times the amount. So that's the rebirth system works, which means the more rebirths you have, the more money you'll get over time. So it's not just going to be a linear increase, well, it'll be exponential. You could change this. Literally, if you just go in here and change this equation to whatever you want and included this amount value, it would work. You just build whatever you want. This is why it's modular. And it references these super functions, or I call these CF, so custom functions. So everything in the whole system references these exact ones. So when you change one, it changes all of them, right? So that's why they're actually really helpful. All right. So let's come back here. We have this cache multiplier, VFX. So you'll see this everywhere in the code. Pre-event loop and post-event, right? So pre-event loop plays before anything happens, right? So after the device gets initialized, this is going to play. So let's say you had a VFX said claim. You'd put that in your pre-event loop, right? And as soon as X event happens, pre-event will turn off. So for this, the event is this base being claimed. And that's never specified, but it's up to you to infer, right? This is base setup, so when the base gets claimed, this pre-event loop will end because that event has now begun, right? And then post-event could be whatever you want. You could have like confetti that comes out after they claim the base. It's like, good job, claim the base, whatever. HUD config, literally the exact same thing, right? So on success is going to be when this base gets claimed, and on failed, there might not like ever be a situation where you see that, but this is if something in the backend goes wrong, right, and it failed to claim the base, or potentially, right, let's say this base had too many players, right, there were too many players in this base, then it'll show that on failed message. So you could type something in like too many players, right, and on success you could say base claim, right, congratulations, you claimed the base. In the future I might add some script add-ons where you could say like base name, whatever. We'll see. All right. So basic prop. This is at the most basic level. This inherits from this massive superclass I talked about earlier and doesn't implement anything. So this is basically what every single thing you see here takes. So it goes to this basic props parent and it's like I want. So everything you're going to see will have a name, a description, a price. Everything will always have this, right? So you can choose your price, your description, name, whatever you want. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to make this guy free. Let's say our first basic prop is going to be free. And I'm going to organize this a little bit more. Drag it over. I'm going to switch to 512 real quick. Oh, whoa, that's making my game go freaky. All right. So experience sports to add this isn't quite finished, but this backend feature is something you might want to consider because this is being saved with persistence for now. So in the future, if you add a leveling system, you should start by picking experience points to value, or you should still use this feature even though it's not fully implemented yet. So in the future, it'll already be there and you don't have to go back and change it all, right? I'll go over IDs right now. Let's do it. Okay, so you'll see right here, everything's in ABC order by like currencies. Click on that guy. Here's, boom, I just made a new currency. Cool thing about this, you don't have to follow, like, let's say you go bought a kit from someone else, right? Normally, you have these like 4 currencies that you can use, and you're going to have to choose with their name and that. No, here, name it or whatever the hell you want. Diamonds, right? Display. So this is, let's say we have these 2 currencies, right? I'm going to call them ruby and diamonds. Okay, and let's say you want your diamonds, whenever player does something, you want your diamonds to go into that little cash claim box where a player has to go over there and there'll be a billboard that says how much cash there is and they have to walk on that thing and it'll claim it. Then they have the currency. That's when you would add display and a collection zone. So that's if you want them to have to walk over there to claim it. If you don't pick this, it'll just automatically go into their inventory and they'll automatically be able to spend diamonds or rubies or whatever you want, right? I'm just going to delete this for the sake. So this currency you just made right here, diamonds, has index 0. So now this guy's ID internally in the backend is 0. So now the backend code knows, hey, if we're referencing currency ID 0, we know it's diamonds. It has this display. It has this VFX. I do believe this pre-event and post-event loop refers to the maybe collection zone. So the pre-event loop is just always going to play. And then post-event will then play when they claim the actual currency itself. So we're going to keep diamonds right here. And I'm going to go over here, currency to spend ID. Well, what do you know? It's 0, so it's diamonds. And let's go ahead and add another one so it makes sense. And I'll just add rubies again. I believe, is the spelling YS or, I believe it, I don't know yet. Well, doesn't really matter. All right, so rubies right here. So you'll see currency to receive is just 1. And now the game knows, hey, our currency 1 is rubies, right? And our grant amount, let's say we want to grant 25. And if you don't want it to grant repeated, you just don't grant an interval. And if you want, you can pick, hey, I want it to grant every 5 seconds. Here's where animation style is. So you can do grouped or Lego-like. We talked about this earlier. Lego-like is it just falls one by one. Grouped, they'll all fall together, right? So I'm gonna do Lego-like because it's fun. If you're only using one prop, it literally won't do anything. But when you have more props, you'll actually be able to notice it. Purchase animation. You have a slow fade in, a fast fade in. I'll just keep it at fade in. This is so I can add more in the future, or you can add your own custom animations if you want. Start as unlocked. So if something starts as locked, so if something starts as locked, no one is going to be able to buy it. Okay, so let's say floor 5 starts as locked, because you don't want someone to be able to buy floor 5 at the start of the game, right? Let's say this guy right here is floor 4, and we want to then unlock floor 5. We're going to go down to these things. We're going to go down to unlock these items, right? And then we say, hey, this guy is a basic prop. We want to unlock floor 5. Let's say floor 5 is a basic prop. And let's say floor 5 was index 1. So now this guy gets bought, and now that floor 5 guy is going to pop up, and hey, you can now buy floor 5. All right, let's come back here. Accolade, this is when they buy this item successfully. It'll grant this accolade. On unlock cinematic will play when they buy this device, or excuse me, on unlock cinematic will play when the this thing gets unlocked, right? So let's say this is floor 5, this is going to play when it gets unlocked. On purchase, when they buy it, it'll play. Bypass zone. So remember how we talked about on currencies? If they have to walk over to some place to claim the actual currency, let's say you don't want that for this specific item, you can turn this on and they won't have to walk over there and grab it. It'll just boom, now they have the currency, right? So you don't need bypass zone if you don't even have a collection zone. It'll automatically go in there, okay? I'm gonna keep that off. And so now we have props to initialize, props to show, and props to hide. So here's how this system works, right? Let's say this guy is now floor 1. And let's say every single wall and floor and roof in floor 1 has never been touched in the code before. We haven't ever said, I want to change this wall, whatever. This is our first time. Then we're going to go into props to initialize, and we're going to select all of those pieces. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to grab a wall, right? UEFN's being a little bit slow, but it's okay. I should probably dock this guy. All right, so I'm going to grab this door right here. It's moving a little bit weird. All right, and then we'll do this design ain't looking great, but I don't really mind it. All right, this is what's gonna get unlocked, right? All right, so now I'll go and I'll initialize. Oh, you see how this guy actually doesn't let me. So anything that registers with the structural grid cannot be specified as a prop. So if you just click on this, click on the door, and you search up reg, you just turn that off, and now it'll work. So what's going to happen now? Let's specify this guy in the purchase zone. So now when they walk into here, these props will now fall from the ceiling because we're using a fade in a Lego-like form. So this guy's going to fall in, and this guy will fall in, and they'll be unlocked because they're under props to initialize, right? And let's say we made another one of these later down the line. Then that's when we would use prop to hide. Let's say we wanted to hide these. Then when they walk into here, we could use a prop to hide in another one, right? And let's say now that they're hidden, that's when we use props to show, right? And then you could go back and forth between prop to show and prop to hide. But you always have to initialize the props first, or your prop to hide and your prop to show are not going to work, okay? They always have to be initialized at the start, okay? So I'm going to keep these guys empty for now. HUD config, this is when they purchase it, right? So I'll go ahead and grab a HUD message device, and you can just link the same one over and over again. The reason that you have to specify a HUD message for every one is so you can build your own like custom message with whatever text you want. And so you can change like, hey, I want the text size to be this big, whatever, right? Verse will actually manage what you're saying. So that's what on success. So we'll say you bought this item, whatever, right? And then on failed we'll say not enough money. Okay, so that's generally what the on failed event will be. Conditions to buy. So let's say even if this item costed $100, you want them to have 500 before they can buy it. You could put that in here. Minimum player experience. So let's say this guy granted 5 experience. You want them to have at least 25 before they can get it, right? That's the current very minimal experience system we have in here. Purchase zone. This is the zone they have to walk into to buy the item. Transmit to, on success, we'll transmit to a trigger, right? So let's say we had a trigger right here. And we click on it. So now, if this item is successfully bought, this trigger will then trigger. So this is kind of an endpoint. So from this trigger, you can trigger whatever stuff you want in the world. So this gives you access to the internal events of this code by exposing the on purchase event, right? And then VFX, yet again, pre-event loop will show like buy, and you can have the amount that you want, right? So that's like a VFX or whatever. And then post event, well, that'll play after they buy, right? We've gone over that. So here's our basic item right here. I'm not going to go over every single item one by one because that's something you can do. So I'm going to skip down over to our UI config. And every currency you have, you can choose to have a UI element for them or not. So if I delete these currency guys will not show up in the UI. But when I add one, hey, currency ID 0. So now diamonds have one. And so now rubies have one. So I'll go over to this guy. Let's say we want the text to show diamonds. So you can name it whatever you want. This is just the name for the backend, right? All right, so rubies, okay? And then I'll make this guy a little bit red. And you can turn on this, which will show per second. And you'll see later in the UI how this works. It'll actually rotate. So let's say you had show per second. This is going to show at the top, and you'll have all the UI stuff. But if we pick 2 of these, then it's going to switch. So it'll say you have this many diamonds per second. And then like after a second, it'll show this how many rubies you have per second. And it'll just alternate between the two. And I'll actually show you how that works. This is diamond, so I'm going to use a diamond emoji. Right? And then in here, this is a ruby. I don't think we have a ruby emoji. Yeah. You have a red. We'll do an apple. Alright. So now this is our UI config. I'll just do 0.75 right here. You can change this alpha value to be whatever you really want. You'll see how that works in the UI later. So now this kit would actually work. Boom, there you go. Now you have your own Tycoon. It's kind of basic, but it functions, right? All right, now I'm going to show you how to add hitables, right? So let's say after they unlocked the weird door and wall, we want them to be able to buy a hitable, okay? So name hit 4 diamonds, right? Or we'll do rubies this time because I believe the last one, yeah, let's see what the last one's granting. The last one is actually granting rubies, so this one will grant diamonds. And let's say it'll cost rubies, and it'll cost 50 of them. And this last guy is granting 25 every 5 seconds, so let's make it 300 so you can actually see, like, hey, you couldn't buy this item. Experience points to add. I'm not going to use that for now. Currency to receive, I'll actually say, yeah, 0, and we'll say 1,000, right? Grant interval. So currently this is acting as in a superclass. So this is going to keep granting every 15 seconds no matter what, right? And it's not going to follow the actual hittable properties, right? This is the exact same thing as this basic prop right here. The actual config for the hittables up here, and we'll go over that in a second. So I'm going to keep all of this the same. I'm just going to change what it actually unlocks. So I'm going to add a box right here. All right, well, I couldn't find that, so I'm going to use this damn barrel. I guess it's, slurp barrel. All right. So we've already gone over all these. I'm going to link the HUD config back up to this guy right here. I'm going to say successfully bought. Purchased correctly. I did not spell successfully correct. Alright. On failed, you do not have enough money to buy this. Okay. Let's go to our Hitable config. Alright. So let's say, so the currency on hit ID, and I believe we're using 0, which is diamonds. And on hit, we want to grant 1,000, or let's do 500. And you can change the experience amount. And you can also say, hey, if you want to grant an item, you can use an item granter. And you can have hit detectors. This is just a trigger. So I'm going to go over and grab a trigger. I know I already had one down, but I want to change it. Okay, and then I'm just going to scale it up. And I'm going to turn this guy off. All right, and then I'm going to change these settings. I believe we want triggered by damage. Turn all these other guys off. Trigger VFX sound effects. And then we want receive damage when invisible. And then we want to make it invisible. All right, and then we can go back to our stomper. And we can be like, okay, hey, here's our hit detector. And lastly, let's make this guy start as locked. So when they walk in here, they can't buy it. And let's go back to our stupid door crap. And let's do unlock these items. It was a hittable, and the hittable index was index 0. You see right here. And now we can go ahead and load up and see how our Tycoon works. I'm just going to build this code and launch a session. All right, while that's going on, I'm going to go over a little bit of the back end. If you've ever wanted to learn Verse or any programming language, this is kind of the time I'll be showing you some advanced like programming concepts, object-oriented programming, how the superclass works, how all this comes together. All right, so we can go to your purchasables right here, and you'll see we have all of these, right? You saw these back in UEFN, back in Verse. They're all right here, and there's a few more that don't use the superclass called these, your collectibles, your gifts, lottery, whatever. Let's go to what you're familiar with. The basic prop. That's how easy it is to make this entire thing right here. Literally just this. Because it inherits from the purchasable parent. You can add whatever you want. So initialize, this happens at the start of the round or whenever you want it to get initialized. And it basically calls this event, which does the parent's job. This parent has this entire duty, right, of managing literally everything, and you're just inheriting the stuff it already knows, right? So if you actually look, you'll see it has the price, right? Your experience points to add, name, description. It has all these things, and they're being managed all in here, right? And so when you make a new one, you're just saying, hey, I want it to do everything my parent can do. That's all you got to do. You just say, hey, I want everything my parent can do. Right there. You just add this purchasable. It's a purchasable item. Right? And then you can go in here to the purchasable type. Right? And you can build a new one. You can say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, whatever. And then you add it right here. Okay? And now this basic prop isn't going to do anything other than what its parent can do. And its parent can do everything in here. Like, it can unlock stuff. It can host, which is an async event. If you're not familiar with that, that basically means it's going to run for a certain amount of time. So normal functions just complete instantly, and async events will run a certain amount of time. So let's say you want to wait for an NPC to get shot. Well, waiting takes time, right? So that's the host method. On bot, you can literally come down here and you can write, hey, on bot, right? And you want to override that. So you can check, hey, when it's bot. Or you can use the host, and this also runs after the item is bought, right? You can check when it gets unlocked. You can unlock the dependents. This manages how it gets purchased. It manages initialization. It does everything for you. All you got to do is add this purchasable guy. And doing that manages all of this for you. And let's say you want a more advanced thing, like an NPC device, right? And so here's our purchasable right here. I know this is it's a little bit more code, but hey, this is 56 lines to an entire custom NPC thing that looks just like this, like they all do, because yet again, these are all siblings, and that one guy's the parent. I turn the Fortnite stuff down. And yet again, these are the 57 lines, and the parent manages every single thing else, right? So you can see, hey, this kind of looked like that basic prop right here. So I'll go over this. So you can see I made this unique NPC spawner. So this is the custom NPC spawner device that I wanted to be able to use, right? So I'm taking Fortnite's NPC spawner device and I'm kind of building my own version of it. So I added this editable currency on kill ID. And if we actually go right here, you'll see these variables are just exposed right here. So that's what all these are. And I built this my own on kill event, my own disable and enable event, right? So when it gets initialized, I'm basically disabling it. So this is at the start of the game, we disable it when we're spawning await kill, right? So we're saying, hey, we're going to await for this guy to get eliminated. Say whoever killed it, right? We want to signal this on kill event. This is all it's doing. It's just saying, hey, someone killed this NPC spawner. Then we're signaling this event. Literally all we're doing. So back in this NPC Bible, we're referencing an NPC spawner config. And what do you know? It's this guy right here. All right. And so now this guy knows what this on kill event is. So when this guy gets initialized, it initializes this right here. And then it loops. It says, hey, we're going to wait for this on kill event right here. And then if, so there's a difference between a player and an agent. I'm not going to go over that. So we're going to get the player from the person who killed it. And we're going to check if they actually have an item, if they have a grantor, right? Oh, fuck, that's... I actually realized something. This is written wrong. If they actually don't have an item grantor, this then isn't actually going to happen, right? So let's change it with you, right? So if we have that player, right, then we want to grant money. I built this function for you, right? So you don't have to go in and like choose and build all these variables and use persistence with it. All you have to do is just say grant money when you're building your own purchasable, right? To the owner, right? And all of these guys have their own owner. So you don't really just say owner in here. To whoever you want to grant it to. This guy also takes the grant ID. So that currency ID you want to grant it. The amount, and that bypass value we said, right? So the amount, remember, or the amount is the on-kill grant amount, right? Right there. And the on-kill ID, it's all there. We're also granting XP, same thing, and we're doing a HUD config on successful, right? So that's that on success event you saw. And let's go fix this grantor.grant item. So what I'm just going to do is if, we'll go into here, we'll say NPC Spawner config, .opt item grantor, right? And let's set this to a value. So opt, or item grantor is equal to, right? And then we want to do item grantor.grant item to the player. And then I will close this guy. All right, and so that's how you build it. If you don't know what that was, there was autofilling. It's just Copilot. Cool AI shit. I'm long on NVIDIA. Anyways, there you go. Now let's fix it, and you have your own. So when this item is bought, we're going to start hosting it. We're going to enable the NPC spawner. We're going to do all this, and boom, there you go. There's your own. And like, you have all of these functions. You can go to CF. This is everything you're able to do. You can check all of these when you're building your own. You can grant money to the player. You can bypass grant money. You can remove money. You can get the rebirth amount. You can grant XP. You can do all of this in your own functions. And they're all built with the superclass in mind, so they're all function for you. You can use interfaces. I already have these custom devices for you built out, right? That you can also use these. It's meant to be the easiest way possible. You can build the best Tycoon kit you want, and I'm just giving you the tools to be able to do that with some built-in features already there. But it's so easy to just come in here and add whatever you want, right? Like this NPC, 58 lines of code and you could shrink it down, but it's pretty damn easy, man. So you'll see now that we're in game, I forgot to make the other guys visible. You'll see base successfully claimed, and you'll see diamonds and rubies. We should probably change that color real quick. I'm also going to delete this NPC spawner. Let's make these guys blue. We might have to push changes. We'll see. Alright. You'll see we got... So this is if you don't have this custom debug on, it's only going to show super important stuff. Like this base got initialized. A base got claimed, right? I believe the other guy's right here. You'll see I forgot to add a purchase zone for that Hitable. So if you were following along, make sure you go ahead and do that. I do believe we're going to have to push changes right here, but I will go ahead and check and see if we need to. No, we don't. All right, so you'll see right here, it actually persisted, and you'll see how our rubies just updated. And now I go in here because it costed 300. Boom. And you'll see how that diamonds, it's cycling. 5 rubies a second, 67 diamonds a second. And it cycles back and forth between the two. And I do believe this Hitable right here, we set it to 1,000 every 15 seconds, which averaged out to 67. So now you see we got our diamonds. I don't have a motherfucking pickaxe. But you'll also see how persistence works. Remember, we didn't have to build any of this. This is native. I'm going to start the game. We walk and we claim the base. Look, now we own this and we own the Hitable right here. And we're already getting granted stuff. I'm telling ya. Pretty fucking cool. So I'm going to go ahead into our island settings real quick. And we're going to enable start with pickaxe. Start with pickaxe.
What we bring, we still have made of greed. This is my kingdom come, this is my kingdom come. When you feel my heart, look into my eyes. It's where my demons hide, it's where my demons hide. I won't get too close.
Also, while we're waiting for this to push, I want to go over when any new additions come on, rather than having to rebuild all of this, since it follows the same superclass, you literally just copy paste that file over and it will keep every single base and every single custom setting you had on there. It's pretty cool. So let's say you've been on 0.2 for a year. You come back and you want to come add beta version 20 or whatever, right? You just plop it in, boom, and it works because this Tycoon Stomper is its own class itself. And there's only going to be additions to it because everything else follows the same superclass, right? So it's just going to work. You just plop it in. Boom. Right, now you got your own kit. And now you have all the new features, right? Let's say there's like 1,000 new features. And now you have all of them. But you also kept everything else that you had. Now you'll see I'm in here with my pickaxe. Going to walk in. You'll see base successfully claimed. Oh, also when you push changes in the editor, it doesn't persist. In a real game, it'll actually persist. Now you'll see rubies. We bought this item and those they dropped down really quick because they're using a normal fade in. You can also use slow fade in. You see this guy costs 300, so we're gonna have to wait for them rubies to start piling up. You'll see even if I hit it, literally nothing's happening right now because I gotta wait. Gotta be a little bit patient. All right. So now when we walk into here, you'll see there goes our 300 rubies that we spent. Purchased correctly. You could obviously change that. Now I'm gonna hit it. Oh my god, look, it adds 500. Wow. Alright. There's a Tycoon kit. There's so many damn things. You could literally build 1,000 different things. If you know a little bit of programming, this is really easy to just add on. Have your own fun with it. And even if you're not, you can use this kit and do whatever. There's almost every possible feature you need in here, right? And if there aren't, just leave a comment down below. I'll build my own addition to it. If there's anything you want, just tell me and I'll add it. It's all free. Always will be.